All right, what is up, guys? I know recently I've been making a lot of videos, kind of like Doomer, talking about the game, really in a way. Just in regards to I guess Next Wipe and some other things like that. So I wanted to make a bit of a different video because while I have been talking, I guess relatively negatively about the game, no surprise, obviously, knowing it's me, right? But I do not think everything is quite all doom and gloom. So I did want to make a video just talking about, let's say maybe you've taken a break from Dark and Darker for maybe one wipe, two wipes, even longer. Maybe it's been maybe you've tried it once, you never picked it back up. So I want to make a video pretty much convincing you why you should play this game again, which is, I know a lot of you are going to be like, well, I can't believe you're the one ever making this video, and I don't even know if I'm the right one to make this video. But nobody else is going to do it, so hey, here we go. I guess I'll give this a shot. So just to start with, I'm going to be talking about a lot of different things, hypothetically, depending on when you quit. But they've added so many new things to this game, so many new things that are yet to come. And just to start off with, I think one of the biggest ones, there's a ton of new quality of life that's been added. I think that's one of the main reasons people had issues with the game. Now there's so many new nice just niche updates that just make the game better for you. Other than UI optimization, things like that. And yes, we still do have issues regarding things like gold storage and some of the annoyances that have always existed. However, you now have things like extra stash tabs. You have a shared stash where you can transfer stuff between characters. The stash tabs are cheaper than ever before, so you get access to a ton of storage. Literally, day one of wipe, you load up, you have access to 10 tabs of storage just instantly. And so, I mean, obviously, this is if you have the paid version of the game. I'm talking here. If you don't, you only have one character. But so if you do have it, you have 10 free tabs of storage basically right away, and then it's another 1,500 gold per first tab on each one of those characters. Not to mention being able to get an extra one unlocked through questing. So without spending too much gold, you have access to almost 20. Actually, I think it is 20 stash tabs just right away. And if you guys think maybe you're a really old player, you played back during the playtest, 20 stash tabs of storage feels like an insane thing, right? Because I'm sure a lot of you guys remember back then, you had one stash tab, there was no shared stash. The only way to swap stuff between one character to the next was just, getting a friend to trade you and then swapping. It was really, really annoying. Don't have to deal with that anymore. It's way better. Also, another thing, the marketplace. I'm sure most of you have played with it by now, but if you haven't, the marketplace was added. It makes building kits and getting stuff that you want so much faster. No more going through the trading post, all of that really, really annoying stuff. You go on the marketplace, search up the item you want, buy it, boom, you kit it up, ready to go in the dungeon in an instant. And that's really, really good. And there are obviously a ton of other things that have been changed for quality of life. Another really worthwhile thing that I want to mention is the Squire. Not just the fact that it exists, and if you don't know what the Squire is, basically as you upgrade your quest and do them, you unlock new base levels of armor. So, let's say you want to use Longsword on Fighter, you can finish the first set of Weaponsmith quest, and you now have access to all of the weapons on Fighter. You have White Rarity, you can equip it as your starting weapon every single time. So, if you're only playing Norms and you're not really going High Roller, but I want to use this specific weapon, but that's not my starting kit, you do that corresponding quest, you get that armor piece or that weapon or whatever build you want, and then you can take it in and you can use it every single game. And that's been in the game for quite a while now. However, recently what they added, let's say you're not playing, the 24 gear score stuff, you're playing, maybe high roller or just higher gear score. The Squire now has a feature where you can store 3 kits, kind of how your inventory would be when you equip it on your character. You have 3 of those, you can store the gear on your Squire, and you can go in there and press one button, swap the gear on, swap the gear set on, swap the gear set off. Really, really easy, really, really nice quality of life stuff. But like I said, there's a ton of other things. I don't want to get into it because I could sit here and explain it, for quite a while about every single little thing they've done. But it's definitely a lot better than it used to be. So, moving forward, and also these aren't going to be in a specific order. I kind of have a very loose a list here of things I want to talk about. So maybe some of them seem a little out of order. So that's why I apologize. Um, but upcoming for the next wipe, we have PvE mode. I know a lot of people, another reason that they quit this game was trying to learn the PvE along with trying to deal with PvP was just too hard for them. You didn't really want to spend that much time okay, I finally learned how to kill mobs, or I finally learned how to clear this room or whatever, and now people are here to kill me, and it's just an overall not very fun. It's a pretty annoying experience. There's a PvE mode coming out next wipe that you will be able to queue into. There's no gear score bracket or anything. There's no gear score limit or anything like that, so you can queue up. It will be technically speaking, it will be trios only. However, it doesn't necessarily matter that it's trios only because there's no PvP, right? So if you queue up as a solo and there's another team that's a trio, it doesn't really matter to you. Yes, technically speaking, they have a better chance of killing the boss as a trio than you do as a solo, but that's just kind of how it works, right? Not to mention, you can meet people in the dungeon and team up with them and go kill the boss together, and just make friends. It'd be really really cool. But yeah, so new PvE mode that's gonna be coming out. It'll be really really nice to use to do that to learn PvE if you're like relatively new to the game while not having to worry about dying to PvP. Then, moving on right after that, once you've played that PvE mode, you've learned how to kill mobs and stuff. There are gear score brackets now. Once again, like I said, these have been around the game for a while, but I don't know how long. Maybe some people that are watching this video haven't played the game in a really, really long time. But there are gear score brackets now. Basically, what that means is for normals, you have 0 to 24, 25 to 124, and then high roller is 224 or 225 plus, or zero. It's it's 125 to 224 and then 225 plus. Next wipe, which I should probably talk about this because this is more relevant. Next wipe, it's not going to be the case. How next wipe is going to be, I believe you're going to have 0 to 124 for normals, and then high roller will be 0 to 2. I think it's just 0 on, right? Or it's 0 to 225 or 224 and then 225 plus. So basically, whatever level of gear you feel comfortable playing in, you can queue in that specific bracket, and nobody will be able to bring in anything better than that, right? Which obviously that'll be pretty good. Um, if you're like, let's say you've got really good blue gear, but you don't really want to pay, you don't want to queue up and fight people in like purples and legendaries. Okay, you play in the 224 gear score bracket, or you've got like white and green gear, and you're playing norms, and you can play in that bracket, or you have really really good gear and you want to fight other people in really really good gear, then you queue up in that 225 plus bracket and high roller, and then that's what you're going to run into, primarily, right? So definitely really really nice addition to the game. Makes it so like I said, you can kind of punch at the level that you want to. You're never forced to punch up or punch down. You can always, like I said, aim exactly for that gear score bracket that you want to play in, and obviously like legendary purple, max rolled gear is obviously the most expensive. However, if you're playing the lower gear score brackets, instead of having to buy that, you're only having to buy blue gear. Additionally, this is actually something I'm glad I remembered now. I kind of forgot about it. Additionally, there is the gemming system now, or the socketing system. So I'm sure all of you guys are familiar with the gems that drop in the game: the rubies, the diamonds, the sapphires, the emeralds. At all of them, yeah, rubies, sapphires, diamonds, emeralds. So now, other than them just being items you can sell to the treasurer or collector, whatever merchant it is, for gold, there's a new merchant called like the gold. I think it's like the goldsmith or something is his name. But there's a new merchant, and what you can do is you can take gems to him, and then on your piece of gear you can stock it specific items. So if you look at, hold on, let me see 1 second. Let me just hover an item here, or hopefully this idiot in game hovers an item at some point. This idiot's me, by the way. Um, but basically, you can go to this guy, and you could take gems, and you can socket them into the item. There's an unlimited amount you could socket, and you can pick the stat you want to roll on it, which makes the item so much cheaper, right? Oh, not that. You see right here, this Grim Smile has the sapphire in it. That is one true magical damage. And eat like different gems correspond to different stats. Like generally, green gems are defensive stats, max health, PDR, that type of thing. Rubies are offensive stats like physical damage, true physical power. Sapphires are utility like movement speed or magical stuff, true magical damage, magical power, and diamonds are stats. So, like I said, each gem corresponds to a different thing, and the rarity of the gem that you get corresponds to the item you can put it in. So, a purple item, you need a purple gem of that rarity. So, a purple sapphire is used to socket this one true magic damage. But why is this important? Well, if you're running blue gear, you can get blue gems, and obviously, blue gems are way more common than like purples or legendary, so they're generally cheaper. So even if you don't have the gear, or if you don't have the gold to buy the gear yourself to buy the specific rolls, you can buy dead statted ones. You can find dead statted ones, and you can gem the specific rolls you want in there yourself. So getting gear has never been easier than it is right now. Like genuinely, it's never. It's so easy to get gear right now. Which brings me into my next point of they have increased the drop rate of items really, really high. It's, much higher than it ever has been in the past. I'm sure a lot of you guys remember if you played back during the playtest days, the mainstay of gear was purples, right? And even then, like, it took you like several hours to get like a good set of purples, or maybe even a couple of days, right? Like majorly you were running around in blues for quite a while, occasional purples, and if you found a really good legendary, that was rare. And then obviously uniques and artifacts, way more rare than even that. But other than that, obviously, now the case is just the opposite. It's really, really common to find good gear, even in normals. In normals, you can find up to, I believe, legendaries. They've been changing it recently with uniques being added in and out. But you've been able to find up to legendaries and normals pretty consistently, especially if you go down to hell and clear all those, loot Lion's Head, loot Golden Chest, kill the boss, etc. It's really, really easy to find at least purples, and like I said, legendaries are not that uncommon. Not to mention, things like gems, which are very, very, I mentioned a minute ago, very, very valuable because they allow you to socket certain stats onto items. And because they're so good, and we have things like Arena out, which I'm not really going to get into, but because Arena's out, gems usually have a pretty high value for like legendaries and purple. So if you find those, that's a ton of gold you can get. And not to like interrupt myself, I just want to skip through to the next game so you guys don't have to sit here and watch me like in my vendor. All right, here we go. All right, there you go. But yeah, like so gems are really, really nice. So it's just like getting gold and getting really good gear has never been as easy as it is now, right? It's just so easy. Like I said, whether it's finding it or buying it, whichever way, really, really, really easy. And with that being said, I think the gear right now is pretty balanced, all things considered. Yes, there are a couple outliers. You have like plus one all in jewelry. Um, but other than that, I think gear is pretty balanced. Like obviously, if you're like legendary to green gear, you're gonna feel a giant disparity in your gear strength. However, it's like blue to purple, it's almost non-existent, right? Like perfect rolled blues compared to perfect rolled purples, it's very, very close. Obviously, it's one extra stat, but at the end of the day, that's not that big a deal. As and as a or as compared to some metas that we've played in this game, it is way more balanced now than it has ever been before. But yeah, I mean that's like there's not a lot for me to say on that. That's just I mean that's you got to take my word for it to play the game and try it yourself, right? Also, another thing that I'm sure a lot of people had issues with for a long time was cheaters in this game. Like certain regions you played on, OCE, I'm looking at you, have had it a lot worse than others. I mean, we all know it's just kind of unlucky that it ended up that way. But recently, Iron Mace has begun taking a way more active stance on cheaters than ever before. I know, they added the new report system in, and basically, if you guys don't know how the report system works, it's kind of like a merit system. The more people you report that do get banned, basically, the more value they give to your reports. So let's say you have 50 people banned or 50 people reported and like 48 people banned. Whenever you do report people, they get like much higher priority. So I assume it's like that versus like if you have 100 people reported and 0 people banned, they won't give as much weight to your reports. They'll still get checked, but just not as fast as the guy that has like a 99% ban rate to his reports with like 100 reports, right? Because I mean, obviously that makes sense. Like one of them seems to be accurately reporting and getting the right people banned. The other is probably just like rage reporting or they have no idea what they're talking about. And I can even attest to this literally earlier on stream when I was playing. I died to a guy that was cheating, and as I was spectating him, I watched him get banned live. He literally he died and DC'd right there in front of me. It was kind of funny. I mean, I wish it had happened just a moment sooner, but hey, better than nothing. But yeah, and then on top of that, one other issue, like like Iron Mace related, that I think a lot of people have had is the communication. Iron Mace has been notoriously bad about communicating. Now, I'm not gonna say they're good, but they are certainly better than the past. I believe they're doing tavern talks once a month. If you don't know what that is, basically the devs sit down with I think it's their community manager. I'm not exactly sure. It's somebody that's there, but once a month they sit down and they kind of like go over stuff for the game, like their thoughts, ideas, the reasoning behind the patches, looking forward to the future, stuff like that. And they do all this, and it's usually an hour or two long. And yeah, like sometimes if the stuff they talk about isn't super relevant or it's not like great, but it is definitely something that they do, so it's better than nothing, right? And it's like obviously better than what we've had, like I say, over the past several months where they kind of like went ghost mode on us. Then to round it off, one last thing is I believe the game is getting overall better updates. I know that's a kind of a crazy thing to say, especially with some of the things that have happened. However, I don't think they're quite as bad as they have been in the past. I'm definitely feeling a little bit more confident about them, as well as more content is coming. They just increased their. A meme about Dark and Darker has always been, whenever like their team that makes monsters, they've only ever had like one guy on it. But recently, I believe they added at least one or two more, so now they're up to three. So a lot more content coming on that side. Just this next wipe alone, we are getting 7 mobs, and if you guys don't know, that is like half the amount of mobs that has been on any map natively. I believe Crypts, whenever it was first released, probably didn't even have that many total. Or I guess maybe they did total, but they definitely like didn't, or Crypts alone didn't. Inferno included probably did, but 7 mobs is a ton, and they look really, really cool. As well as we're getting new crafted items, new quests, all of this stuff. A lot of like, it's not big content, but it is content that's coming forward to the next wipe. So with this being said, it's gonna wrap it up. I didn't want to make this too long of a video. I kind of sort of make this like a like a little short like intro back into Dark and Darker, maybe if you've quit before. And I would definitely be trying to make more guide videos going forward to the next wipe, just because I think it's going to be really helpful for a lot of people, especially if you're getting back into the game and you're new. And I do expect a lot of new players to come back. I think the PvE mode is going to be a big draw, and that's going to wrap it up for me. I hope to see a lot of you guys out there playing, and I hope this helped get you back to the game. With that being said, I'll catch you guys later. Peace, peace.